Well, that argument is nonsense and grossly misleading for two reasons. Firstly, the previous Conservative government did talk about China as a threat to national security. Tom Tugendhat, the then Security Minister, said it in Parliament on April the 14th, 2024. Both integrated reviews in 2021 and 2023 described China as a threat. The Director General of MI5, Ken McCallum, described China having engaged on espionage on an epic scale, to use his words, and responding to the Intelligence and Security Committee report in 2023. The previous government agreed with their assessment about the threat China posed. But that actually, what the last government said publicly, actually isn't the legal test. The legal test is whether a jury believe or don't believe that China at the time was a threat to national security. And I can tell you from my own time in government then, I was, for example, Technology Minister for much of the period concerned. There are numerous documents in government. Obviously, I can't talk about the details, but they demonstrate very clearly China was a threat to our national security. I think Tom Tugendhat, the then Security Minister, said the same. And what the Labour government have done is they have chosen not to disclose those documents to the Crown Prosecution Service. That has caused the trial to collapse. And they've done that.
Why are you suggesting that they've done this?
Well, they've quite clearly done it. And by the way, the Chinese...
What are you saying their motivation is?
They've done it clearly because the government has got the country into a massive financial mess, and they want to try and get closer trade links with China to bail us out of the economic mess Labour's created, and they're willing to sacrifice national security to do that, whether it's collapsing this China spy case or giving consent to the embassy, which is going to be a base for espionage, which they're about to do.
OK, well,
And that is a deliberate and completely wrong choice they've made, and now they're trying to cover it up. First of all, on September the 15th, I replied to a statement by the current Security Minister, when he said, the government had no idea what was going on, we're totally oblivious, it's a complete surprise, it's all down to the Crown Prosecution Service. Now the Director of Public Prosecution has written 3 public letters in which he says that's not the case, and the CPS spent months chasing the government, the Labour government, for evidence which the Labour government refused to provide. The government clearly is bound to Beijing on the intended consent for the Chinese super embassy.
Yeah, so let's just look at this headline, just to explain to people. This is Times headline. China assured of super embassy planning progress under Labour. Why shouldn't they get that?
Well, because it's a threat to national security, because it sits on top of a critical fibre optic cable network, and because it will be used as a base for espionage. It was our position in government that it shouldn't be granted. Labour has been threatened by Beijing and they've backed down. And the government were also threatened, the Labour government were also threatened on this spying case. And just as Layla says, this now gives the green light to China and others to spy at will. But look, I think your question, from a journalist point of view, about transparency is important. The question now is who in government took this decision to deliberately withhold evidence. Fingers are pointing at Jonathan Powell, the politically appointed national security advisor. Many sources have reported to journalists he was integrally involved. There was a very weaselly statement on this on Laura Kuenssberg's programme yesterday by Bridget Phillipson, which left a lot of wiggle room. Were ministers aware? Was Keir Starmer aware of this case? These are all unanswered questions, and I think this afternoon Jonathan Powell's position in government is hanging by a thread.